This is your Morning Boost, recorded in the Forward Ed Network studios. A weekly spark for educators and school leaders ready to lead, teach, and live with greater intention. This is your Morning Boost.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to your Morning Boost. Thank you for joining me today. For the last few weeks, we've been talking about the hidden lessons our leadership systems teach. We've talked about our schedules. We've talked about our procedures, the decisions that we make. Each one quietly teaches people something about what matters in our organization. Today, I want to finish that conversation by looking at what may be the most powerful teacher of all, and that is what we choose to recognize. Think back to the last staff meeting you attended. Maybe it was before everyone headed off for the summer, or maybe it was a leadership team meeting that just happened this last week. At some point during that meeting, somebody was recognized. Maybe they were thanked for leading a committee. Maybe they were recognized for years of service. Maybe somebody shared a story about how they helped a student, or maybe just about how they simply went above and beyond. But let me ask you another question. What did everyone else in that room learn from that moment? I've been thinking about that lately because I don't think recognition is simply about celebrating one person. I think it's one of the primary ways that we teach culture. Every time we recognize something, we're teaching our culture what success looks like. We're saying this matters here. This is what we value, or we would like to see more of this. And if that's true, then what gets celebrated gets repeated.
This segment is sponsored by Grunmeyer Leader Services. Since 2013, GLS has been a trusted partner for school districts across the Midwest, specializing in executive recruitment and leadership support. They believe that great schools start with great leaders, and they are here to help you find the perfect fit for your district. Transform your school's future with the right leader. Visit GrunmeyerLeaderSearch.com to learn more. Grunmeyer Leader Services, transforming education one leader at a time.
Let's keep building on that idea. Let's say one of your goals this year is improving collaboration. What happens when a teacher quietly helps a colleague after school? Do we notice? Do we mention it? Or does it happen so quietly that nobody ever hears about it? Because if nobody ever hears about it, nobody learns from it. Recognition doesn't just encourage one person, it teaches everyone who's watching. Now think about innovation. We tell our teachers we want them to try new things. We encourage creativity. We tell people it's okay to take thoughtful risks, and then someone actually does. Maybe a teacher experiments with a completely new instructional strategy, and maybe it works beautifully, or maybe it falls flat. Either way, everyone is watching how leadership responds. Do we celebrate the willingness to learn? Or do we immediately focus on everything that could have been done different? Because everyone else is paying attention. Here's another one. Think about your own leadership team. When someone brings a problem to the table, who gets recognized? The person who identified the problem, or the person who came up with a possible solution? Those are two very different cultures. One encourages people to point out what's wrong. The other encourages people to help make things better. Neither happens by accident. They're shaped over time by what leaders constantly notice. One thing I've learned is that people pay far more attention to what we notice than what we say. We can spend an hour talking about collaboration, but if the only people we publicly recognize are individual high performers, our actions are teaching something different. We can talk about work-life balance, but if we celebrate the people answering emails at midnight, our culture hears that message much louder. That's why I think recognition is one of the most overlooked leadership tools we have. Not because people need applause, but because everyone else is paying attention. Every story we tell, every compliment we give, every moment we choose to notice or not notice is teaching something. What gets celebrated gets repeated, and what gets ignored quietly disappears. While I was thinking about this episode, I kept coming back to something my friend Jim Wichman shared recently in one of his YouTube shorts. He was talking about how uncomfortable educators can be when someone compliments them. Somebody says, "Great job," and frequently our first instinct is to respond, "Oh, it was nothing," or "Anybody would have done it." Jim made a point that really stuck with me. When we immediately dismiss the compliment, we are unintentionally minimizing the encouragement that someone was trying to give us. They noticed something, they took the time to say something. And that really made me stop and think because he's right. We work in a profession where humility is incredibly important, but sometimes our humility keeps us from receiving encouragement. And when we brush that encouragement away, we may also be brushing away someone else's willingness to keep encouraging people. Sometimes the best response is simply, "Thank you." I think that fits perfectly with today's conversation. Recognition isn't just about making someone feel appreciated, it's about noticing something that's worth repeating. When we recognize good work and when people are willing to receive that recognition, we reinforce the kind of culture we're trying to build. So here's the question I've started asking myself: what behaviors am I unintentionally rewarding? That's actually a different question than what behaviors do I value? Because sometimes those two answers aren't exactly the same. Leadership is full of big decisions: budgets, hiring, schedules, you name it, strategic plans. All of those things matter. But I've become convinced that culture is usually built in much smaller moments. A hallway conversation, a handwritten thank you note, the story we choose to tell, a teacher we recognize, the risk we celebrate, the effort we notice. Because every time we shine a light on something, we're quietly telling everyone else, this matters here. And over time, people naturally begin doing more of what they believe matters. So this week, don't just ask yourself, what am I celebrating? Ask yourself, what am I teaching people to value? Because every compliment, every story, every moment of recognition is shaping our culture, whether we realize it or not. As I've been reflecting over the last few weeks, I've realized that all of these conversations have really been about the same thing. Our schedules teach, our procedures teach, our decisions teach, our recognition teaches. Whether we realize it or not, leadership is always teaching. Leadership isn't just about the systems we build. It's about the lessons those systems quietly communicate every single day. The question isn't whether we're teaching, because we are. The question is, what are people learning from us? Hope it's been a great July. This month is flying by and August is right around the corner, peeps. We have kids coming right back into the building. So gear up. We're going to be ready to go. Thanks for being with us here on Your Morning Boost. We'll be back again with you next week.
That's your morning boost from AWB Education and Media. If this episode helped you reset your thinking or take your next step forward, share it with a colleague. And don't forget to subscribe so your next boost is ready when you need it. Keep showing up with intention. Keep moving forward, and we'll see you next time.